All right, let's start the show. So, the first report that has gotten into the top five comes from Agbada Dixon Okaloyo. So, congratulations to you, man, in getting into the top five. Now, let's open up the report and let's take a closer look at it. So, first of all, right, when you open up the report, one of the things that I notice is in comparison to some of the submissions this month, I don't know why, but this one feels relatively clean, right? We had a lot of submissions where things were just hectically thrown out. This feels like an actual layout of positions where things are supposed to be located and so forth. Um, Overall, I like the initial view, and primarily because you probably have, for those who have been here before, have heard me say this, but I just love the attention to details. And in this one, this is the one detail that I always look at. Whenever you're going to have a card and you're going to have a year over year or month over month comparison, I don't want to see a number here unless there is something defining the time frame. And this is what Agbada has done here, right? You can see there's multiple years, so having a year over year comparison doesn't really work unless I would specify that I'm always showing the last year. So this only shows up when I physically select a year to filter things out, right? Because this now makes sense. Previously, you had a lot of years, so which year is comparing over what year? So kudos for that. It's a small little detail, but trust me, all these little details matter. Overall, one thing that I like is the overall color palette. I don't know why. This is also something that came to sort of my perception of the report. Whenever healthcare is involved, you immediately think about blue, right? It's one of the colors that gets associated with medicine. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the colors of the cross and every. I don't know, but it's just what it is for me as well. So there's a lot of blue reports. I can tell you that. Previously, we had a crime analytics and everything was red. Now we have hospitals and everything is blue.
It fits the
Um,
theme well.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, overall, what I like is that there is a navigation that goes across, and it doesn't really change. The KPI cards are also fixed, so it essentially kind of felt for me that this is the fixed part of the report, this is the dynamic part. So you kind of separated those two as well, which I kind of like because it's not like everything changes every single time you click on something, right? There's the dynamic part, and there's a static part that follows through. The only thing that I would probably comment on is I see the layout, but I would probably try to emphasize it maybe a bit more, especially for the navigation.
Hmm.
The reason for this is because it blends so well with the background that initially you don't really see that these are buttons, right? And the reason why I'm emphasizing on this is quite simple. Remember, guys, whenever you create colors which are very close to each other, one thing you always have to take into consideration is that every single monitor out there is going to have different settings: the brightness, the contrast, the saturation. So something that might seem, you can still see the distinguished difference between it. Somebody's going to be looking at this and be like, there's a difference. So whenever you have very similar colors, try to somehow make it pop out a little bit more, right? Just so they are able to always see this. But yeah, overall for this one, I like it. I like the simplicity. It's not overcomplicated. Probably for the cards, the only thing that I would have done is maybe the numbers slightly smaller and the cards a little bit upwards, so that there's a little bit more room for the visuals. But other than that, I kind of liked it. The one thing that you did overlook, Agbata, over although, is the following: you have the admission year, and you have it here on the visual. If I select the year here, for example, 2022, the cards are filtered. That's all fine. Every other visual gets affected. That's all good. But this one is not affected by it, which gives me the right to do this: select a year which is not this year, and automatically break everything. Because you're essentially now creating a conflicting filter, right? One is saying 2022, the other one's saying 2020. Everything else is just so basically nothing. But don't worry, this is something you can easily fix, right? By just adjusting the interaction so that they cross filter each other, and that will be fixed, right? A lot of these things that we're gonna tell or talk about, what happens in real life is you can fix them in a few seconds or a few minutes, right? It's just that you have a deadline. These reports have been submitted, and we need
Hmm.
to find these things. That's what we need to talk about. So yeah, Dean, from your side, any comment?
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, these all of these top five reports are phenomenally well, and it was our job to find those little mistakes. But in the real life, in production, your feedback you get same day, you get some feedback from somebody else that looks at it from a different point of view, because if you work so long in one report, you don't always see the mistakes unless somebody else quickly starts clicking on different things. um, so for me overall, I love the color theme in terms of like you said, the best word is clean. It's very clean, the use of blue, and it was throughout the whole report, so that was a plus point for me. Labeling is also very clear, so there's headers, there's subheaders. It's all those labelings are very clear, and also I think the overall visual selection in the report was also good. There was nothing. How can I say it? Trying to be fancy or different and come up with a with a type of chart that you need a PDF document to understand as well. So it was very very clear in that. The only thing for me was on this, I think it's on this top bottom five doctors. It says bottom five doctors, but there's a
Mhm.
whole list of, so something there was also not 100% filtered correctly, but the top five doctors is working correctly, so that's definitely something there. And then the last thing is sort of just the ability as a consultant, as somebody that works a lot with data. I like to also, yes, I want to have the holistic view. That's the number. But if I want to drill into that number a little bit and find some more, I want to have that function. And I sort of saw that lacking in this report. But overall, stunning report.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a reason why it got into the top five, right? So
Correct.
kudos for the great work. Thank you for the participating, and let's go for the next one. Yep, let's go. Let's see who's on the next. So the next report that has gotten into the top five comes from Ferzi John Diaz. So congratulations to you, man. For those of you who have been following all of our challenges, Ferzi actually is the winner of the FP20 Analytics Challenge. So he's come back for maybe another trophy. We'll see. Now let's open up the report and take a closer look at it. Dean, you want to take the first hit at this one?
Yeah, so initially opening up the report, I saw a lot of yellow, and I was like, because I've never really used yellow in reports. But the more I looked at the report, the more I went through everything, this yellow started to grow on me, and it becomes a complement to the reports. It's a really nice way of using yellow throughout the whole. So I really need to compliment that as a plus point for me. So well done on the way you've used yellow, because it would have been a bit of a challenge for me. So I like the light yellow background, that the charts are on
Hmm.
top and the charts are obviously white. So there's a good contrast there. So it's like you said, if your screen is maybe dark, or you're in a room, you can still see that contrast.
Hmm.
Um, the criticizing point for me was the alignment. So um, there was some alignment issues that I also saw. um, I think it's in hospital insights, if you can maybe click
Hmm.
on
Yeah.
that one. But there was definitely overall for me a good use of the KPI cards. I only noticed that it was also a filter selection, or card selection uh, later on in the reports. I saw from if you go to the first healthcare overview,
Hmm.
um, these these bec- these cards become selection cards. So obviously, if you click on each one, it gives KPIs on that, which is a very good use of KPI cards as well. It becomes like a button for filtering a report and also a display for KPI. So I really think that's intuitive. I would have just liked that to be a little bit more highlighted, because I saw something in the in the navigation guide to say select the six KPIs, but I wasn't sure. I was thinking there was something else,
Hmm.
clickable KPI. God, yeah. So I only saw that afterwards. So, and then the back button to exit out of this navigation was also hard to find, because normally, you click somewhere else and it just sort of disappears. So I was clicking everywhere, nothing disappeared until I, oh, just a little button. So for me, very good report. Um, I think the use of the drill downs was also good. The use of the Zoom charts was also very good in this report. So overall, well done.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, what I noticed first is like what Dean already mentioned, for example, for the information overlay. These are very good, but be very cautious with it. It has to provide value, not make me frustrated. And in this one, I had a similar feeling that Dean had for what I was doing, right? I'll be honest, right? I opened it up, but I wanted to close it. I just wanted to see if it's there, if it works, and so forth. But when I got here, immediately you have an arrow showing me this one, and I was just trying to click on it. I didn't read it, I'll be honest, at the first. So I was clicking on this, but nothing was happening, and then I noticed that this one's here, right? So whenever you have these overlays, you have to have a clear way of closing them.
Yes.
And typically, I do it in two manners, right? Either you create a version where, for example, clicking on an info page creates an overlay downwards, or you exclude this part so that person can click on it again to close it. So you use the same element for opening and closing, right? Think about it as a menu button, right? You can open and close from the same item. The other part is where I allow the user to click anywhere on this new overlay to close it.
Mm.
And that just ensures that the user can find a way to close it even if he doesn't notice this particular item right here. Or
Yeah.
even if I would use an item, I would 100% use an X. Why? Because it's something that we're used to.
Yes.
We've been using this for tens of years now in Windows environment. So X is a unanimous type of closing. See, this it's right here, and you always know it's there. It's a bit different for Mac users, I know, but for Windows environment, it's here always. So yeah, that's one of the things. About the report itself, I like the sort of overall feeling for it, but there was one of the things that I just previously mentioned for Agbada. I start off the report, I see a lot of different years. What is this year over year? Which years are being compared? Unless you drive me to a specific view and tell me that this is a comparison of 2024 versus the previous one, the year over year should not be shown. In the
Mm.
calculation, you should consider a chance that if multiple years are available, then just don't showcase anything or have a blank there or provide a text that there's, please select a year or something like that. But don't leave me with a number that doesn't really mean anything. So that's one. I know it's tricky. Trust me, we all have created the same mistakes. That's all fine. It's just something to learn from for the next time. As far as the visuals goes, I like the choice of it. The color is okay at first as well. It was kind of hard to get used to it, but once you started to play around with it, it was okay. The only thing as well that I noticed when I started to move around the pages is on the first one, right? You had exactly the same view for the cards as these ones. So from my experience, I can tell you straight away, there's 100% chance that somebody's going to be starting to click on these, but these are not going to be filtering. So be very cautious in how you have visually defined your cards and how they look in different pages and what's the capabilities of them, because people like to do the same stuff. And this was the other thing. These should not cross chart filter. These are purely here for visual representation that they should not filters,
Mm.
because these are cards for representing what's already available. The driver in this case is either the combo chart or the map visual, right? These are just purely for visual representation. The field parameter implementation is great. So the user is able to switch around different metrics and see also how the conditional formatting is being applied. So that's all good. Have nothing against it. For patient records, well, the main thing that I was looking for here is if you're driving me to a patient records, I want to find a particular patient. Forcing me to go through a list of items is not the best option. Make sure I have a way to search for a specific patient. I get it. I have these, for example, I can select a specific hospital and so forth, but then I'm left with a list of hundreds of patients where I have to find the right one, right? If you give me this, at least give me an option to search somewhere. That's all I'm asking for. And the other thing is, when I know what I noticed here is when I started to move between the pages, you have filters here, you have filters here, but whenever I get to the patients, it's like patients would be living a different world and I don't have the filters anymore. You could still utilize the same dimensions because if we open it up, right, you can see gender, medical conditions, state category, all these are applicable to patients as well. So just keep it consistent. There's no reason to just suddenly remove those properties from the last page. But other than that, I think it's a great report. It utilizes interesting approaches. Like this one allows you to clearly focus on the patient itself, right? This one focuses on the hospitals all across the map, you see how they interact with each other. That's all fine. And the overall healthcare overview. So the overall report is very good. Congratulations on getting it to the top five. Just bits and pieces, but they can easily be fixed. So don't worry about that. Yeah, I guess we go to the next one.
Yes, let's go.
So the third report that has gotten into the top five comes from Okedona Efasa. So congratulations to you. Okay, let's open up the report and take a closer look at it. Dean, you want to take the first approach for this one?
Yeah, I think performance-wise, the loading of the report was for me good. Again, um, the theme color, the purple, the light purple, the gray, all good. Um, I think the alignment for me was something that I always it's small things, but I know because it bothers me when I'm doing my own reports. Everything has to be 110% aligned. It's like, you know, I zoom in and to have a look, so I always look at those thing. Um,
Hmm.
then yeah, so for me the two three sort of negative points was I like the picture. When you select a medical condition, the use of pictures there, it's a nice guide. Um,
Hmm.
but if you click on it, it's sort of I wouldn't say break the report, but it cross filters for some reason, to for the report. So I would sort of not allow that to happen. But
Hmm.
and then it's the second one was if you click on the buy med condition, I would have loved that to for that bookmark to work as well. But like I said in the beginning, this is something when you're working during production, getting feedback, same day it can be fixed and you carry on. Unfortunately, this is a contest, so you're going to be judged on those little points. Um, and then the navigation, not navigation, the guided learning.
Hmm.
That's very well used in the first page. If you click on information, I think it's clear. Um, there's, I think if you click anywhere, you can exit
Yep.
the navigation. I like the reset of the filters button. That to me was also very clear. I would have loved to see that navigation or guide right through the reports on the other pages as well. Um, Even though it says similar things, but sometimes you get one user that only looks at one page, another user that looks at the other page. So it's always good to be consistent across your pages.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I would have loved to see that going through as well. Other than that, it's a good report. It lacks a little bit of drill through or drill down, if I can put it
Hmm.
that way. But it's a really, really outstanding report, which is good.
Yeah. For me, the one thing that I would say is I really enjoyed the simplicity of this one, right? Instead
Yes.
of trying to overcomplicate things with a lot of different graphs, visuals, and everything all together, it kind of gets to the point straight away. So I really like that approach. The one thing, of course, for the alignment, and I can say this from my personal experience, right? I'm one of those guys who is creating a report just based on the wireframe first. So I just throw stuff on the ground, kind of align it, and I'm good for it, right? But that's why we have a designer on the team. Whoever sees the report, he's gonna tell me exactly like, no, that's 2 pixels to the right, 2 pixels up, one down, to the right, left, up, down. Trust me, I fully understand that. And the one thing that I just highly encourage you to do as well is if you're having issues with the alignment, one thing that I do not encourage to do is to trust the guidelines that you have in Power BI, because what it does is it usually snaps to one of the elements that you have somewhere there. So you might be snapping to the title, sometimes you're snapping to the visual container, sometimes it's a button that's right next to it. So one of the things that I personally do is I use grid lines, and you can enable grid lines in the view section of Power BI reports. So that's one thing that you can utilize. The other thing is on the property or the formatting options of the visual, you have the advanced options, which tells you the position and the size of the canvas. So utilize those as well to know exactly where you're positioning things, so you can align them, 10 pixels to the right or something like that. So that's one thing. Because, for example, right here, I would definitely love this one to be aligned with this one, right? It's a very small little detail, but it's just kind of, you know, just purely visually. I like the fact that these images are not high res images, and that's what I really appreciated, because one of the things that a lot of people love to do is, you kind of want to showcase that you're able to find high res images, I guess, or you just want to make sure that things look fancy, right? But at the same time, one thing that people forget about is the performance impact it takes. Any high resolution image that you're showcasing in a report, remember, it has to be loaded into the visual, it has to be displayed, it has to be also fitted correctly into the format. So sometimes just very basic visual representations of the things you're talking about are a lot better than high res images. Because, for example, if you have a decent speed of connection, right, you can load the image fast. But if you have a slower connection, or if the machine is just working lazier today, things seem weird sometimes when you have like a half an image showing but not the whole thing or something like that. So always just play around with these and double check. As far as the visuals go, like I said, I like the simplicity of it. It's not going into too many details. But one thing I did notice here is the same as for before, as the report before. You have all years, all months, but you're telling me versus previous year. So my first guess would be, okay, you're checking the last year versus the previous year. So if theoretically I select 2024, these numbers should not change, but they're changing, meaning that something is not done correctly, right? So be very cautious about these numbers. I know you might seem like I'm nitpicky, but that's just how it is in real world as well. Somebody's gonna notice these things, trust me. So always pay attention to these. As for key trends, the one thing that I would 100% do is change the y-axis sizing for the line chart. So by default, line chart uses so-called visible, meaning that there's always a zero and it just adds up to the value. Whereas under the formatting options, you have the ability to switch to so-called floating. Floating y-axis means that it's looking at the min-max value ranges and it just scales it differently. It's not something that you always want to use, but for this case where you're talking about billing trends and so forth, I would definitely switch to that because that would allow me to see the differences or the variances a lot easier. So that's one thing that I would definitely change here. Treatments and costs. So here as well. So overall, the thing that I like about it is that the layout stays the same, so you kind of know what to expect here. You know that the cards are always going to be here; they're not jumping up and down, left and right, and so forth, similar to the previous reports. So you kind of know what to expect from what you're doing here, right? So yeah, from my side, I like the simplicity. I like that it answers the questions and that I can find things, and it's not very easily breakable. Sure, I can still do it, but it's not very easily breakable. Even if by selecting the, the image, it's not like it breaks everything, right? It just breaks one section. So kudos to OK for this report. It was very well done. One thing that I probably might have thought about maybe doing a little bit differently is whenever you have these sort of bars, right? Make sure to add a little bit of a value. I'd say in it might be just this particular case that, for example, when these are very close, right, on the default view, it just seems like it's a waste of space because they're very close to each other. You don't really see the difference between them. So it just seems like, well, I had space, so I added bars there. Well, in this case, columns. So I would definitely play around a bit more with that and utilize the space a bit more efficiently. Since you already have totals here, right, just have the totals at the end. Sometimes less is more. And it would also make the report feel a bit more, not the report, but for example the table to feel more consistent because you have the same approaches on both sides. So totals on a row level, totals on a column level. So that's one thing to consider. Switching between the medical conditions, I think one thing that I was about to double check, but I think I might have forgot about it. If I switch to cancer, let's see if it keeps my selection of both of them. Yeah, so whenever you're using the same slicer, 90% of the time I would recommend syncing the slicers. There are, of course, exceptions where you don't want to do this, but if you have similar analysis and you have similar slicers, most of the time, if I have pre selected something, I want to make sure that I'm looking at the same thing also when I go to the next page. Because the user can always change this to something else, right? But if I have defined an entry point, I want to be looking at the same thing going forward. So
Also, if I
That's
can,
one thing. Yeah, go
something,
ahead, of course.
yeah, something I would like to add also, and it's a theme that I saw in all the reports. Um, this is also something I like to do also at the end before I publish to the web. Is is I would say 9 out of 10 charts, I will go into the properties and switch off the header icons. So
Mm,
because whenever you put your mouse on top of anything, there's like this little annoying pop
these,
up,
yeah.
and I've seen, yeah, I've seen, people trying to click somewhere, and the little filter icon is in the way, or the focus icon, so that can also become a problem. So it's just much cleaner if you switch that off. It's unfortunate that it's not a sort of an option you can start off with, like a default switch off all unless you switch it on. But that's something that I'll definitely look on before publishing to the web as well.
You can actually switch all of them off in the services, but you can't enable just few of them. So there's an option of just showing or not showing at all. But if you want to
Okay.
kind of do it for per visual basis, you have to do it manually. Yeah, I would love to
Yes.
same as you to basically go the other way around, right? Unless I turn it on, keep it off.
Yes.
But there's more time in the timeline, so who knows what features Power BI is gonna add. Things have
Absolutely. I
changed
mean,
a
they
lot
do every
over
month.
the time. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And whenever new features come in, it's sort of an amazing feeling and also a burden at the same time because you're thinking, oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of requests regarding this now, and nobody really knows exactly how it works because people are just still trying to figure it out. So it's a bit of a roller coaster, but it's a fun one to ride.
Definitely. Definitely.
All right, let's go to the next one. So the next report that has got into the top five comes from Andreas Mithal Pratama. So congratulations to you. Let's open up the report and take a closer look at it. So I'll go first on this one. The one thing that I straight away noticed, and this is sometimes that happens in this case, I think it's based on the sort of design or the layout, which congratulations, you made it kind of work very well. It almost feels like it's a tablet that you're holding in hands, right? The design and everything. But at the same time, it came with a drawback. And the drawback is that I have page navigation and additional items very close to each other, that it might feel that either there's something missing here, or there's an accidental gap, or it just doesn't feel like fully aligned, right? Because these items do completely different things. This is primarily for navigating between two different pages. These are additional items. So what I would have probably done, and this is just me again, right? Somebody else would reconsider or think differently. That's okay. I would probably add, just take from the design you already have and just add a little line right here to kind of separate the two blocks. But yeah, that was one of the things I noticed. Because if you hover over it, that tells you what the page is. That's all fine. But I don't like to keep additional items and navigational items together. That's just maybe me. So that's one thing. The other thing, when I like the fact that utilizing this approach of year over year, actually, a lot of reports are utilizing the same approach. So that's all good. The one thing that you're doing here, and I appreciate you doing this, is you're not allowing me to actually go for multiple years. So you're forcing me to have a single year, which is great because you're never really lying about the results. You're comparing a year over year. There's nothing else visible. There's one particular year available at a time. So that's all fine. However, purely from a visual perspective, what I would recommend you to do is when you do the quick measures, or sometimes when you do the calculations, it might not consider these sort of scenarios where you don't have any values. So for example, right now here you have suddenly a minus 100, whereas this is the first time you ever even not have data, but the data comes in, for example, right? So what I would have done on a visual level is on the right hand side where you have the filter panel, I would add a visual level filter of not show, or actually on a page level filter even, not show any data for Dateline where the total patients is blank. So only showcase information where there are patients. You would eliminate these sort of scenarios. So that's one thing I would consider. But the calculations on the cards, like I mentioned for the other ones, these ones are doing what I would expect. right? I selected the first year, there's nothing to compare. So you're not giving me minus infinity, which, trust me, I've seen plenty of. So these ones tell me exactly what I'm comparing, and they're showcasing the results. Very, very good. What else? If I start to look at the timeline, everything, things get cross filtered. That's all fine. But this one was good. The only thing that I noticed right here, and you can tell me, Dean, as well, if you notice this. If I look at this, right, it says top doctors. So okay, there's a lot of different years, a lot of different patients, and I think I was in a case where 2019 or 2024. Yeah, 2024. So I was looking at this view, right? So you have total of almost 4K patients, but you have 40K doctors. It just seems like a bit of a disproportion, I'm guessing, right? You can't, whatever the situation is, nobody's going to keep on staff 40,000 doctors if there's only 3,000 patients. So I'm guessing what this number actually represents is that it's just the number of total doctors altogether across all years, across all hospitals. It's the total number for it because it never really changes. So that one part got me kind of confused because what I was expecting is, right, if you give me the total doctors numbers, this is connected to the total doctors, but it really isn't. It's connected to the admission count. So that's one place where I got a little bit confused on how to read this. So probably just filtering issue, so that could be easily fixed as well. The map, you're able to switch between the patients and the doctors, which is good because it allows me to see, for example, what I want to focus on, whether it's the patients or the doctors. That's all good. Different age groups, different basic slicers. That's all good. Since there are only few values, I have nothing against not having the option of searching. So that's completely okay. If you would have any slicer where you would have to do the scroll motion, so you have a sidebar, always make sure you have a search. Instead of forcing the user to go up and down trying to look for a value, have a search right on top of it. And in order to activate the search, I know it's a very undocumented hidden feature from Microsoft, I would say. I don't know why it is like that. But in order to activate a search for a slicer that uses text, you actually need to hover over the visual. On the top right, you're going to have three dots called ellipses. And if you click on it, you can enable search. It's not in the formatting options. You can't even find it in the formatting options. It's a very well hidden good feature. So make sure you utilize that. If we go, however, for the hospital analysis, similar here. I like that you're utilizing the drill down capabilities, you're utilizing the regression line, so that's all good. Focusing on the patients. Like I said, overall, what I was feeling about the report is whenever I was playing around with it, it felt like I'm holding a tablet and it's just giving me information on both sides. Uh, this one just probably is because there's a lot of different design elements on the report page tooltip.
Yeah, the tooltip is actually it's a good tooltip. So if it loads in,
If it decides to work, right? And trust me,
yes,
guys, I do training sessions every single day, and whenever you have a live session, things are just bound to go wrong. So expect the worst.
yeah,
But yeah, it's a good tool too.
yeah. From my side, I think you touched on a lot of points. First reaction was, "Wow, this is a beautiful report. I like the dark theme."
Hmm.
Um, I mean, my personally, I haven't had much experience with it, but I've explored with that as well, and it's not an easy task, to get
Yeah,
just to it's not about just making everything dark, it's you have to play with contrast a lot. So well done on making this work. um Making the blue also, the light blue, the main color. So very good, good. That alignment is good overall. Like you said, it felt like a tablet, you know um that cross icon, it feels like I can press it and something magically happens in the
yeah,
report. So maybe that's a feature awaits that will happen. um, the the only thing that for me that that I would have maybe done a little bit differently, that was I was critiquing, was the year dates. I mean, you on top you've got the drop downs, and then
mm,
you by accident find that the years in a it's a good way to sort of display it. It was really good. I would have just added in this case to I mean there's space next to overview. You can
Yeah.
move everything on the end and move it as well. And maybe even go as far as having year and month, to sort of have that extra level of drill down, and
Hmm.
see how that interacts with the visuals. And then the geographical chart at the bottom, the labeling on that. I mean, I don't know if it was revenue, if it was cost. If I click on doctors, that's how much a doctor costs. So that sort of labeling also is obviously leading the user to start guiding the user to say, okay, this is what I'm looking at. This is the data point here. So.
Mm.
Um, because if you look at all the other charts, everyone has got a label: admission type, distribution, patients by age group. So it's just that one in the middle that there's no label. So that's also a simple fix. And then lastly, what was, and I don't know if it was on my side, but the report was also loading a little bit long. Um, so when I was switching through the visuals and the pages and stuff, it took a few seconds to load. So maybe to start optimizing that. But again, it's excellent design. So I know a lot went into it. Some decks as well. So well done for that, and well done on the dark theme.
Yeah, definitely. What I'd say, like you said, right? Dark theme is one of those things that it's sort of a hit or miss. You can make it and it looks
Yes.
very good, or you create something that it's kind of dark, but it doesn't really work too good. There's not enough contrast. The colors all over the place, and usually you kind of whenever it's dark theme, people tend to go towards like sci-fi color palettes and everything. So it's
Yes.
it's 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 very hard to create one, but this one looks good. All right. So yeah, congratulations in getting to the top five. Definitely a good report. Let's take a closer look at the next submission. So the last submission that has gotten into the top five comes from Akhilesh Raud. So Akhilesh, congratulations in getting into the top five. Let's open up and take a closer look at it. So for me, I don't have anything against sort of an intro page when it provides me with additional information. This one, however, if you look at everything else, right, patient demographics, everything, it feels like it's an analytical page. This one felt for me like, well, I might as well create something that gives me sort of a card, or it felt unnecessary, I'll be honest. Because you could have had just a hospital overview page or something like that and created it in a similar design that everything else is in. I would much rather prefer that, I'll be honest. But it's there. It has a functionality. It allows you to select the hospital, so you found the images for the hospitals as well, some main KPIs, the location on the map. Like this could just be a separate page in the whole analysis, right? So I would probably most likely do that. And because of it, also when you're switching from this to these pages, it feels like the whole design shifts suddenly. So it's fine line where when you have these sort of glossary pages or the main pages. What else? When I started to play around with this one, the primary thing that I noticed is because I think I started to play around on this one on the medical pages. I usually go through the pages and then when I find something interesting, I start to play around with this. One thing I noticed here is, and maybe if Achilles is here, he can explain me this. Why is there a filter on every single one of the pages except the patient demographic page? What do you guys have against patients? There were multiple reports where the filters were on every single page except the patient page. They haven't done anything bad to you. Give the filters back as well here. Because otherwise, it just feels like, again, there's a shift in the overall design, right? It might be a quick fix and easily replaceable, but I want to have the same design and feel for everything. So that was one of my things. Whenever you have a line, whenever you conditionally format it, that's fine. The only thing is, please tell me what it's based on. Whether it's the average of something, why is it red, why is it green? I need some explanations, right? Just having red and green doesn't really help me. When it's a simple explanation of, everything above a zero is understandable, below is a red, above green, below red, people understand that. But when you're comparing, in this case, I'm guessing it's the average stay days, for example, how long the patients are staying in hospital. So if it's below the average, it's good. If it's above, it's bad. But I don't have that reference. You need to explain to the user or provide enough information. So that's one thing that I would definitely change here. I like the use of a highlight color just to highlight the main point. But the tricky part here is, on a timeline, it works good because if I move between different values, right, it highlights the highest point and it allows me to quickly find it. Whereas in other visuals, if I have everything sorted by the highest value, well, I kind of know where it's going to be. It's always going to be the first one. If you would control these in an alphabetical order or something like that, then we would add a little bit more value. Because otherwise, you're just highlighting the first column. You know, I get that it's the max. It's the first one. So I would probably do something on that. One thing I forgot, yeah, if I go back, I almost forgot about this one. The one thing that I kind of really liked about this one is the use of notification symbols, right? And whenever you open it up, it clearly tells you sort of things to pay attention to. This is not dynamic, which I would love if it would be, right? But it gives me that, hey, there's an admission rate has been increased. Please pay attention to. This is what you would usually typically expect from a report, to give me some insight that'll, prompt me for action. So that's one of the things that I would probably do. So I like the idea about this. Just I would love it to be dynamic. The guide hover, I don't know, maybe Dean, it worked for you, but I was hovering, but
Yeah.
nothing was popping up. So maybe just an artifact from a version that you tried to create. We've all been there, trust me. It's embarrassing, but it happens. You publish something that wasn't supposed to be there, and then afterwards you delete it. But like Dean said, right, in production, you would have gone into the report, quickly delete it. Nobody saw a thing. It's all good. Now in the past. Keep on. In this case, it's here forever. um,
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, it is what it is, right? The comparisons versus previous year are working fine. The years are actually under the filters. So, and the one thing that's done here as well is you've made sure that, come on, I think it was done as well. I think I double tested. Yeah, you're only allowing me a single selection. So it's not allowing me to kind of break the metric. So it's showing the correct results. So that's all good. Ability to drill down in some of these as well. The one thing that got me a little bit confused is, I love the fact that you are using one of our newest features, which is the change threshold. But at the same time, if you just look at the number, it does, and sort of the title of it, it's average 963 with an increase of 52%, almost 53%. I don't really know how to read it, right? This is the average, this is the max, so, but it's not really an increase, it's just the difference between them. Like, I don't know if this one fits here very well. The feature is good, but I don't think this is the best use case for it. So be cautious about these sort of things, right? Make sure that it's understandable to the user and it adds that additional value. Uh, Billing information, that's all good. Like, yeah, see this here. I have nothing against the highlight color because it allows me to quickly find the right one. But if it's sorted by the biggest one, it's unnecessary. This one's good. Detail insights. This one I would most likely hide as a page, and I would allow the user to drill through from other pages to the detail page.
Yes.
But if you have it there, that's all fine. The only thing that I would recommend is, whenever you have these detail pages, you have the filters here, so that's all good. If you don't have filters, just make sure you add some slicers. Allow the user to define those filters. I get what you're trying to do. You want to give the user the ability to look through some details, but you also don't want to leave them with a PhD size document just trying to scroll through things and find something that they're looking for. Just give them some slicers, and you have them right here in the filters. So appreciate that. Other than that, I think it's a very simple report. It works very well. Just few design things that I would probably change to make it feel a little bit more unanimous, I would say.
Yeah,
What about you, Dean?
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think it's the use of Zoom charts in this report was really very well used. There's drill down features in every chart, so that was good. I love the filter pane. That is a pop out because obviously
Hmm.
there's a lot of filters. So from a design point of view, it was a good pop out. Plus the big X. I mean, you immediately know where to click because
Yeah.
it's an X. So I think I love that. Um, and then if you just go to the patient's demographics page,
Absolutely.
just on this one, what I like about it, it says select period,
Yeah.
but what I don't like about it is I couldn't select a period. So I like the DAX that when there's nothing selected, when it's just returning everything, it's sort of a okay, there it works. But for me, in my mind, I was like, I need to have a slicer to sort of do that. So I think that was the only thing that was sort of in my mind because it says there selected filters. I couldn't understand in the beginning. So
Hmm.
I click on that. How does that work? And then I went to the other pages, and all of a sudden I saw, okay, here's the filters. So for me in this page, there wasn't really that much filters to work with. So I think I would have loved also to see that drill down effect um, to the detail insights. That you're talking about from this page as well.
Hmm.
Um, then the guide hover that didn't work for me either. So um, I would have loved to see maybe yeah, because there's a guide with the information thing, and it's nice that it's
Yeah.
throughout the whole report. So like you said, I think maybe that's something. But it was so stand out. We all went to it and
Yeah.
hovered our mouse on it. So um, I like the overall reset button. I think that's also good because sometimes when you mess up something and you just don't know what the data is telling you, just reset. At least you have that option to reset the report um, to do that. And then yeah, I think the help guide, like I said, throughout the report was good. And then I had the same sentiment as you on the homepage. I think it doesn't fit the overall theme. It felt like it was just something that was added for the sake of adding these three visuals. Um, but I do think there's a place for when you go into a report. Um, this is like the landing page. You can't
Yeah.
go anywhere else here from the landing page. I think it's a good way of using the landing page. I just think the information on here is good, but not as your first page and as a landing page. Um, the rest of the report actually complements this homepage and not the other way around. Normally, the homepage is sort of the wow effect, where now in this case the rest of the report is the wow effect.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's all from my side.
Okay, because yeah, for the patient demographics, like you said, right? Whenever you see this select a period, well, for me it feels intuitive because that's what I do every single time, right? I select these periods, but it has also a drawback. On these pages, you have the filter button, which allows me to select a single year. Whereas on this one, since you're using a timeline visual, I can select multiple years simultaneously by creating a consecutive selection, which basically results in this, right? Whenever I do this, you have an basically probably an if clause as well in the calculation, and it still says me select the period. So now I'm really confused because I have selected a period, but you're telling me to select a period. So what I probably would have done is just either keep using the timeline visual,
Mm.
but maybe go on something like a monthly view so that whenever a user just clicks on something, it happens. Or what I would have probably done is the text, I would have slightly adjusted it and just said select a period below. Because then
Yes,
at least you're kind of driving the user towards it. Sure, it doesn't work for every single card because here it would be weird because you're looking at hospitals, right? Or select period in the timeline, or somehow drive him to that visual. Select a period leaves it open handed. And especially if you have gone to other pages, here you have seen the filters, then you come back, but there's no filters here, period, all. Like, small things. But these small little things, they do matter, guys. Everybody notices them, and everybody's gonna notice different things. That's the one thing that I can guarantee for you. There's gonna be five people who notice one thing, and then there's the sixth one who's looking. Are you all missing this one crucial bit right here? And it's just what it is. This is why we try to sort of verify the reports with multiple audiences before we release them to the public, right? Different people have different things that they notice, and that's okay. You test it out on different audiences. But yeah, overall, I'd say it's a very simple report, which I like about it. It's not overly complicated. That's one thing that I definitely like about it. So yeah, just few bits and bobs where things could have been changed, and it would have felt a lot more intuitive. All right, I think the time has come, right? We do have to announce the winner as well. So what I'm gonna do from my side is I'm gonna
Is there
quickly
a
hide
drum
this.
roll?
Yeah, the drum roll, but I quickly gonna have to hide the screen, make sure I find the right one, because I don't want to fail completely and just say this is the
Correct.
winner, but it's not the winner. So just double checking everything, making sure it's the right one, having the screen ready on share. So the winner for this month's challenge is, let's push it live. It's not going live. There we go. Okay, Dona Fasa, congratulations, man. So yeah,
Well
in
done.
our opinion, overall, from all the reports, we think that this one was done very well. There's a lot of also improvement from the reports that are coming previously. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to every single one of the who has gotten into the top five. So special kudos to you, and special thank you also to every single one of you who actually decided to participate. So you took that leap of chance, right? You decided to go ahead and see how you're doing. I hope the feedback that we provided to you was valuable, and you managed to improve your reports as well. The one thing that I truly hope for is that you don't just leave the feedback, right? Because I know some people do it, right? You receive the feedback and you're just keeping it as is and not doing anything with it. Try to implement those changes. This is how you learn things. You try out new things, you learn from other people, you see what, for example, we're also giving as a feedback and telling, hey, pay attention to this. Hey, try out this. This helps you to make better reports in the future.
Yeah, that's very good advice, because those are the things that that develop you and pushes you to do better. But I must say, it's I mean, any one of these five reports could have been the winner.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
exceptional work to everybody. And it wasn't easy to even select five, because there was other tens and twenties of reports that was very very good. Um, you know, just a small testimony that you guys taught me was that a while back someone said they didn't even come close to the top five, and just by continuing and every month participating, ended up winning one of the contests, and that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
So for those of you who are following all of our challenges, you can check also the FP20 Analytics Challenge. So Fazi, one of the top five reports also on this one. Previous months, he didn't even get into the top five. Now he won one of them. He won the FP20 Analytics, and he's in the top five for this one. That's commitment, right? He just kept on pushing. He tried out new things. He also tremendously improved his skill set, and he was listening to the feedback and trying out new things. So kudos to that. We do have also one question from okay, of course. Why not? Go ahead. So let's see. So with the ZoomCharts timeline visual, I was exploring the possibility of drilling down from year directly to month rather than quarter. I was unable to implement that, hence I just switched to the Drill Pro column. Yeah, so whenever you're using a Timeline Pro visual, there are a few things that you can do. One of them is you can utilize the built-in functionality of the toolbar items, which allow you to switch around with different units, right? The other thing that you can do is, I don't want to waste a lot of time for people, but essentially in the formatting options, you have a tab called Display Unit, and you can disable the unwanted levels of the hierarchy. The reason why we're implementing like this, because you can also delete them from the hierarchy, essentially, right? Whenever you're implementing the hierarchy, just delete them as a level of the hierarchy. But one of the things we do is we also provide it as a formatting option, because that way in the future, if that sort of unit becomes relevant, you don't have to completely change the data model, drag in new columns or anything. You just go back to the formatting options and enable that unit. If it's disabled, you're skipping it and going into the next one. So you would be able to click on a year and go into months. This is also what's done here. If I click on a year, I go directly into a monthly view. So this is something the developer controls. And as much as we would love to create a unanimous sort of version that everybody loves, that's impossible. There's always going to be different opinions, and you
Always.
can't really create something that's going to work for everyone. How can
Just
I
ask
participate?
Microsoft.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They
Trust
will
me.
tell you.
How can I participate in this challenge? So for this challenge, it's closed. But if you want to participate in the next one, all you have to do is just go to zoomcharts.com, open up our Power BI page, top menu right here, challenges, open it up, and you're going to be able to see all ongoing challenges. Once you open up the challenge, for example, like this one, yeah, the challenge page is going to be updated today because we just also launched new ones. It takes time. We're not robots. So if you go into the challenge page, you're going to be able to see the submitted reports. That's when the submission deadline is coming to an end. But before that, you have things like About Challenge. It explains what to do, how to participate, and everything. You have the brief, which explains the data set, gives you a few inside questions that you might want to focus on, but you don't have to. And the judging criteria. You have the data set, you have the past challenges, you can schedule one on one sessions. We have a workshop where we go through the data set and talk about some of the visuals. So there's a lot of things to do, a lot of materials. Where was it? This one. So make sure you participate in the next one if you didn't for this one. And like I said, the main thing is don't be afraid to participate, even if this is your first report. It's not about winning, it's about learning new things and advancing your skills. Trust me, you're going to say thank you to yourself afterwards.
Absolutely. And as a deadline, it pushes you to finish the report.
Yeah.
So that's a positive, and it's an
Mm.
opportunity to build, sort of a portfolio
Hmm.
of your own designs and reports on different data sets.
Absolutely. And it also I think similarly how I have a graveyard of reports in my workspaces, this allows you to kind of have an archive and also look at, for example, how your reports looked like 1, 2, 3 months ago and what you're doing now. Because one of the things that you kind of forget or don't notice in everyday life is how you're developing your skills, because it's
Yes.
just it's just part of your day now. Whereas if you compare them and look at them, be like, huh, things have changed a bit, quite a bit. So yeah.
Yeah, I've got one of those reports that I did 2 years ago, and I when I look at it now and I have to present it, or people use it, I cringe looking at it. But the
Yeah.
people that use, they love it. But for me, because I've evolved so much further down the line in 2 years, I cringe a little bit in the inside every time I see the report.
Oh no, trust me. There are reports that I'm never gonna show them back to anyone anymore. No, no, they're done. They're in the graveyard. I see them just as a reminder of the days when I started, but there's nobody else who's gonna see them. All right. So from our side, I think a massive thank you to everybody for participating, for joining the event today, for supporting us. One thing that I would also highly encourage you to do is to leave the feedback. So on the top left corner of your screens, you can see the QR code. I think we have like three or four questions there just to understand whether you like what we're doing here, whether you like the sessions, whether you think they're relevant. And if you want to see something else, let us know about it, because the one thing we want to do is make sure that the content we create is with some efficiency and it gives you some value. We don't want to do things just because we can always do it, but it gets boring quite fast. So thank you to everyone, and we'll see you in the next challenge. Bye
Yeah, thanks
everyone.
everybody. Bye bye.